Hey guys, we're going to talk about water heating for a minute instead of gardens and trees and sheep and all that good stuff. Because I don't know about you, but I really like hot water, and I think my wife likes it even more than me. So this is what we've got set up for our off-grid homestead, where we do not have the solar capacity to heat water, nor should you try. That's not efficient at all. So this is one of the 100-pound propane tanks. It holds about 23 gallons of LP. Probably weighs, I'm going to say, maybe about 170 pounds when it's full. I always strap this to a big hand cart with sturdy wheels, and I tie it off to my trailer and take it down to Ace to fill it up. If you've got a good hand cart, these are not very difficult to move, and I even have to bring it up a hill a little bit. For this particular heater, it takes your standard gas hose, so you don't have to, you may need, depending on what kind of threading comes with your tank, you may need this little internal adapter that you see right here. But I think the tank I bought, I think it came with it. But then there are also hoses that have the internal threading. And if you're doing the internal threading, it will thread opposite, and it actually has a little note here, if you look on the side, an arrow that tells you which way to thread. These are not one of those things you want to crank on too hard, and you can also do the soap bottle test to make sure you have a good fit and you're not leaking, wasting gas, or causing a fire hazard. So the heater, this is actually the second one we've installed, because the first one got damaged, and that was my fault, and I'll explain that in a minute. So this is the Eccotemp L5. It's a little bit smaller than the first one we had, which was the L10. It just means that it heats water at a slightly slower rate. In other words, we got a slower flow rate down a little bit to get the same temperature of water, but it's not, we still have plenty of pressure. It just takes slightly longer to fill up the sink when we do dishes. Controls on the front are real simple. This little window here lets you see the flame. It's really light, and after engineering things a few different ways, this is what I came up with, because we're out here in the cold. It's going to be 23 degrees tonight, and I don't want the water in this exchanger that's at the top of this freezing, and I really don't want the water in this PEX freezing either. So cold water coming in. So here's our cold water coming off the main line. I've got this heat tape on it that I will use. I don't run it all the time, but basically I'll get up a little bit early if we need early showers, and I will turn this on and it will defrost the line if that needs to happen. And in order to drain the heater, drain the exchanger so it does not expand and freeze and burst, I have this shut off. But here's the important part. If you get one of these, make sure you've got the little drain valve in the back. Let's see if I can get this for you guys. That thing, you want that little thumb screw. I have one on each side. So when I come out here to drain it, so here's the hot water side, I can drain both sides of the exchanger. I'm not as sure on the L5 if the exchanger, the way it's put together, if it needs both of those drains, plus the one that actually comes with the unit. This is also the drain valve. I made the mistake with the last one where I assumed that the drain valve drained the entire unit, and it didn't. It only drained off the cold water side. And that meant in the upper left corner, it froze and it broke open. And my patching skills are terrible. I tried water weld. I could not get it to hold shut. I've kept it. I'm going to keep working on it and have it as a backup. But I had this one as a backup, so I decided to just go ahead and put it in so we could have our water back. So this way, when we're going to be below freezing, I turn off the water incoming just to the unit, not to the whole house. So I've got it separated. I open all of those drain valves, and really the shut off on the hot water side, I don't really need the shut off because it's just going back to the house. But that was the easiest way for me to be able to drain it. And then I've got heat tape on everything. That's something I didn't have until this last spring. We reworked some plumbing and we pulled everything out, and I heat taped everything. And that's made a huge difference. It's just I have to plan ahead a little bit, but it beats the hound out of coming out here with a heat gun, trying to figure out where it's frozen and that sort of thing. So let's see what else about this guy. These work, they're pretty straightforward. When they receive water pressure, they click on. This one runs on a couple of D-cell batteries, and it also has a little switch, which the L10 doesn't. It just has the batteries. There's lots of good troubleshooting videos for these out here. One lesson I did learn early on is that if it is not clicking on, it is probably insufficient water flow. And we had an issue initially where it would click on and then shut off after just a few seconds. And I realized that I had, and this was my first time doing PEX, way too many turns and elbows leading from the heater, which was on the back side of the cabin, not over here on the side, going into the house. It restricted the water flow so much that it was actually a safety shut off. The water in the exchanger was getting too hot, and it was shut off. So we upgraded to 3/4 PEX for the hot water coming in, and I think I've only got one elbow in the whole deal coming up through the floor. Or probably not even an elbow, but I think it's a T that runs between the sink, the kitchen sink, into the shower and the bathroom. So it's just a little habit I've had to formulate. I do have to think about that, make sure I come out here. Normally I just kind of plan out my chores and my showers and stuff, and if it's going to be anywhere close to being below freezing, or if there's any chance I'm going to need to be away, I just shut it down and then turn everything back on again when I need it for shower and dishes, and then come back out and shut it off again. The other thing that is you need to be mindful about with these units is they don't get real happy if we've got high wind. And this is one of the rare times I'm standing out here in the wintertime and it's not windy. Normally we have a very strong westerly wind, so we kind of ended up crafting this little shelter for it, also to help keep some of the rain off of it, just kind of, minimize the wear and tear. And then I salvaged this little door from another project. Steve Eversole, if you watch this video, you're going to recognize this little door. And since I've put that door on, it has not gone out while the wind has been blowing. Because I tell you, it is no fun taking a shower and getting halfway there. It's usually to the point where you're all soaped up and you're ready to rinse and the water shuts off, and I'm trying to finagle it, or if it's my wife in the shower, I'm out here trying to get things to work. So it's good to shelter these if you can. The top of these, these are designed to be vented outside. Now, I have seen where people have retrofitted, not this one so much as the L10, which has kind of like a little stovepipe looking thing up here, and they mounted it inside on a hardy board, and then they basically use stovepipe to pipe the heat out, because the tops, they do get hot. This one has this kind of diffuser, and you wouldn't want to hold your hand on it, but it gets pretty warm. So the first few times I ran it, I would just run it for a while, and I was out here with a heat gun and I was checking the temperature on everything surrounding, and it was fine. So that was one thing I wanted to be sure about, because I know I've got it mounted to the side of my cabin, but we just couldn't get it any further away. It just wasn't going to work. And yeah, so I always shut it down when it's not in use. I always turn the gas off just in case there's any chance of a leak. I always turn the gas off. Sometimes when you get these bottles filled up, this has happened to me once, they can get a little overfilled. A lot of these big bottles do not have an anti-shut-off valve, so if your guy at the hardware store or Tractor Supply, wherever is filling this up for you, you know, it might not be a bad idea just to say, hey, you know, cut it off at like 20 gallons or whatever, because they can get kind of, I'm not exactly sure how to describe it. Basically, it froze the regulator. It was overfilled. It froze the regulator up here, and I had to burp the tank a bunch and basically waste gas to get it to stop doing that. So I usually just kind of eyeball it and ask them to shut it off. You can get gauges for these on Amazon. They're not super duper accurate. I still kind of go by the weight and how it feels. And for us, so this is, you know, 2 adults who live in this house. So for shower and hot waters, shower, hot water for the sink, those are the only 2 uses for it. We don't have a washing machine that gets hot water. This tank has lasted me over a year. I try not to let it get empty. I do keep a 40-pound tank in reserve so I can hook it up in case I need to, you know, take a trip down the road to Ace and get this filled up. So I think that's what I meant to relay about this little system. Shut-offs are your friend, drain valves are your friend, shelter from the wind and weather is your friend. So if you're looking at doing one of these and you have questions, let me know, because I think I've figured out just about everything that they like and don't like, and we'll take it from there. See you guys.